Let's start with a pretty provocative idea. What if the very comfort you're always seeking is actually a prison? We're going to dig into why that safe space of yours might be holding you captive.
It's a weird thing, isn't it? You spend a whole weekend on the couch, you're avoiding stress, dodging difficult tasks, and you think, hey, I'm recharging my batteries. But then Sunday night hits and you just feel more drained, more anxious, and definitely not ready for the week. What is up with that?
Well, it's probably because we've got it all wrong when it comes to comfort. We see it as this safe harbor, a big fortress that's going to shield us from the world. But what if that fortress isn't actually protecting you? What if it's just an illusion?
In reality, that comfort is a lot more like a prison cell. And here's the really scary part. It's a cell with moving walls. If you don't actively, and I mean consistently, push back against them, they will, without a doubt, start shrinking in on you.
This brings us to a really fundamental truth about just life, really. There's no such thing as standing still. You are always in motion. You're either gaining ground or you're losing it. Just staying put? That's not really an option.
So, let's visualize this whole thing. Imagine your world. Everything you're capable of doing is this room. And when you're feeling confident, when you're growing, the room feels huge, right? There's plenty of space to move around, to act, to live your life.
But then we start making these tiny choices. We take the easy way out. You choose to text someone because making an actual phone call feels just a little bit uncomfortable. It seems like a totally meaningless decision. You just retreat to the couch, your little comfort zone inside the room.
But that tiny choice, it has a consequence. Every single time you dodge a small discomfort, the walls of your room move in just a little bit. Your fear of that simple task gets bigger, and your ability to do it actually shrinks. Suddenly, something that was easy now feels kind of hard.
And this is the absolute heart of the problem. Staying comfortable isn't a passive thing. It's an active choice to go backward. Little by little, you are literally choosing to shrink your own world and become less capable than you were the day before.
So, okay, that sounds pretty bleak. How do we fight back? How do we start pushing those walls out? Well, we need a system, right? A simple mental model to guide us. And we're going to call it the traffic light.
Now, a really common reaction here is to totally overcorrect. You hear this and think, okay, that's it, no more comfort for me. But does that mean you have to go do something completely extreme, like quit your job and go climb a mountain? No, absolutely not. In fact, that's probably the biggest mistake you can make.
The traffic light system shows us why. Think about it. The green zone, that's your comfort zone. You're on autopilot, and that's where you shrink. The red zone, that's just pure panic and overwhelm, and it leads straight to burnout. The real sweet spot, where all the good stuff happens, is right there in the middle, the yellow zone.
So let's really define this yellow zone. It's that feeling of manageable difficulty. It's where you feel a little awkward, maybe even a little stupid because you're trying something new. You're struggling for sure, but you're not drowning. And this is the only place where real, lasting growth actually happens.
Getting this difference is everything. Look at the left in the red zone. Those are things that are just not sustainable. Trying to work out for 3 hours on your first day back, or getting into a debate with a total stranger. Now look at the right, the yellow zone. These are the small, achievable pushes, running for just 5 more minutes than you feel like, or just asking the cashier one extra friendly question. That right there is the difference between quitting and growing.
Okay, so if the whole goal is to spend more time in the yellow zone, how do we actually do that without, crashing and burning? For that, we need a specific strategy. Let's call it the pulse strategy.
And here's the absolute key to making this work. Nobody, I mean nobody, can live in a state of constant discomfort. If you try to stay in that yellow zone 24/7, you will crash. It's inevitable. Growth needs stress, yeah, but it also needs recovery. So the strategy is a simple 4-step cycle. First, you push yourself into the discomfort of the yellow zone. Second, you stay there just long enough to adapt to that new resistance. Third, and this is so important, you retreat back into comfort, back to green, to recover and lock in your gains. And that leads to the final step, you expand your overall capacity.
And this is where the real magic happens. When you start pulsing like this, push, adapt, retreat, you're going to notice something incredible. The thing that used to be in your yellow zone, it's now part of your new expanded green zone. What used to be difficult has just become your new normal.
Okay, enough theory. Let's make this real, practical, right now. I've got a simple challenge for you, and it's only going to take 5 minutes.
First things first, I want you to just take a moment and think. Pinpoint one specific area in your life where you can feel those walls shrinking. Is it your social confidence? Maybe your ability to focus without getting distracted, or your physical fitness? Just pick one.
Now, here's the commitment. All I'm asking for is 5 minutes. That's it. This is not a life overhaul. It's just a small, totally manageable push. 5 minutes is all it takes to prove to yourself that you are the one who moves the walls.
And here are the rules for those 5 minutes. Your goal is not to fix the entire problem. Your goal is not to jump into the red zone of panic. Your only goal is to take one small action that puts you, just for a moment, squarely in the yellow zone of slight discomfort.
That's your mission. Find your wall, and for the next 5 minutes, do one small thing that reminds it who's really in charge here. Go on, push the walls back.